I decided to do something different with this video because it is not really a haul. It's also not really a TBR. I can't say for certain that I'm going to read any of these books anytime soon. However, it's sort of both. This is a collection of books I thought I would bring from the cave where my books live. They're all books that I've owned for a year or longer, and I have this thing, I'm sure a lot of us do it, where I save all of my like spooky, unsettling, creepy, horror type books for this time of year, for September, October, and then by November I'm sick of it. But I always save books for that time of year. And then so what happens is I just accumulate, like I have almost like a separate Halloween TBR that's like going throughout, you know, the entire year. I have recently purchased many new spooky, creepy, unsettling releases, and so I am going to do a separate haul of those. But I thought this would be a good chance to bring the books that I've been saving for this time of year and just talk about them, to fully get myself hyped up to read them just as much as I am excited to read the newer creepy type books that I've got. Just as a caveat, say that obviously I haven't read these books, and so I don't know like what the level of creepiness is or triggers or anything like that. I really don't know much other than vibes, which is usual for me. Hopefully once I do read them, I'll have more information. First one I'm pretty sure is actually a horror novel though. So this is Let the Right One In by John Lindquist. I think this is the movie cover for the Swedish, like the original version, not the new like American version. But this is a vampire story, and I actually did try to start this a while back. There was just a scene of a bodily function that put me off right away, but now that I know it's gonna happen, perhaps I'll be able to get over it and just get into this book. I enjoyed the movie, so I don't see why not. Then we have Devil House by John Darnielle. He's in a band, I guess. I don't know the band really, but anyway, this is about a crime writer who gets the opportunity to investigate a murder. I don't know, there might have like been cultish elements or supernatural elements to it, something like that. But it's this kind of legendary murder, so he gets the opportunity to go investigate that murder and stay in the house where it happened, and of course things begin to occur. I have two books from T. Kingfisher in this stack because after I read Nettle and Bone and then found out that she also writes horror, I got super excited, so I bought two of her horror books last year. First one is The Twisted Ones. It looks like this one is about a girl whose grandmother passed away. Yes, her grandmother passed away, and she has to go clear out the house. She finds her step-grandfather's journal, and it seems like he I think he seems kind of insane in it, but then our main character starts to see some of the things that he was describing in his journal. The next one is The Hollow Places, and this one is about a woman who gets divorced and she moves back home, and she's taking care of a museum. One day when she is closing up the museum for work, she finds a hole in a wall and she goes through it and ends up sort of in an alternate reality. So both of those sound so interesting. I'm really glad that I decided to do this because these all sound really interesting. I believe that this is the last Grady Hendrix like horror fiction book that I have not read. This is We Sold Our Souls. I managed to get one copy with black sprayed edges. Where did I get it? I got it from an indie store, that's why. So it looks like this one is about the aftermath of a band, and one of them sort of goes off on his own to like make his own name, and then the rest of them end up just sort of scraping by, making a living. And then I don't know, you know, it's kind of strange. I haven't heard anybody really talk about this as far as I remember, but considering like how relatively popular he is now, I find that interesting. But it'll be fun to go back into one of his slightly older books and see what it's about. Speaking of a author's slightly older book, I have Unburied Carol by Josh Malerman. So Josh Malerman wrote Bird Box and Mallory, the follow-up to that book. This is like an Old West story, I believe. When is it? Yeah, it doesn't say exactly, but it talks about an infamous outlaw. That just makes me feel like it's some sort of like Old West type story. She has a condition where she falls into a coma and it looks like she's dead, but then she comes out of it. Her husband, it looks like, is gonna take advantage of this medical condition and bury her and tell everybody that she died. So one time when she wakes up from her coma, she has been buried alive. I think this one is a good example of a book that's not horror necessarily, but it's definitely going to be uncanny and unsettling. I've listened to the Welcome to Night Vale podcast for quite a while now. I know it's hugely popular. I caught up last November and then I was waiting for more episodes to come out and I haven't listened since then. I think it'll be really interesting to read this world in book format and not have Cecil like reading it to me. I don't know, we'll see. Next one is Sundial by Katrina Ward, and this one looks like more of a mother-daughter dynamic. I read The Now Last House on Needless Street last year and I thought it was really good. I think there was like a plot twist type situation that I felt like it was pretty well done. I still have mixed feelings about it, but I got this special edition from Waterstones last year because, you know, sometimes you feel like you're going to love an author, so you need to buy all their books, and so that's what I did. This next one. So I started watching this TV show. This has been made into a mini-series, and I started watching it a couple years ago, and then I never finished it. Then last year I started watching it again, got a couple of episodes further, but I still didn't finish it, so maybe this is the year. Maybe. This is The Terror by Dan Simmons, and this is a historical, more of like a psychological thriller about some men who are on a voyage to find, what is it, like the Northern Passage? Basically, it's this really dangerous trek that nobody has succeeded in before, and so they get stuck out in the Arctic on these ships. It's 1845, as they start to experience, you know, isolation and dwindling supplies and fear, you know, that they're not going to be able to break through the ice and like get home. Weird things start happening and you're not totally sure if it's like in their heads because they're just suffering from like some, you know, psychological issues, or if there's really stuff going on. One day I'll read this book or I'll finish the show and I'll know. But maybe not. It might be ambiguous. I think this book is the only young adult book that I have in this stack. I got this 2 years ago, maybe? I can't remember. It says, Things I Know About Harrow Lake. 1, it's where my father shot his most disturbing slasher film. And 2, there is something not right about this town. So it looks like her father is brutally attacked. She's sent to live with her grandmother at Harrow Lake. So there's some like mystery there about her father making that movie and who attacked him and small town. This one is pretty well known, I think. The Hunger by Alma Katsu. This is a fictionalization of their Donner Party. So a group of people who get isolated where they get stuck. They're going west in the US. They're traveling west and they get stuck in the Rocky Mountains or something over winter. I don't remember for sure, but actually kind of similar vibes, I think, to The Terror. Well, they're both actually based on true events. This one, I think, infamous because we know how they survived, the ones who did. Then I have Things We Say in the Dark by Kirsty Logan. This one I've had for a few years. It's a collection of short stories and it's pretty dirty. It's a collection of short stories. They all have like a sort of feminism bent to them. It says that these dark tales explore women's fears with electrifying honesty and invention and speak to one another about female bodies, domestic claustrophobia, desire, and violence. And it says it's ranging from vicious fairy tales to tender ghost stories. So it might be one of those that's like skirting the line. I mean, like just something that's outright horror and something that's creepy. I don't know, we'll see. Then I have Sorrowland by Rivers Solomon. This one sounded so interesting when I picked it up like 2 years ago. But it's about a pregnant woman who she is living in a religious compound, culty type place. She escapes and ends up having her babies, her twins in the woods, but then she has to go back to the compound for some reason. Maybe she's forced back, I'm not really sure, but she goes through the process of getting revenge on all of these people. Sounds really fascinating. And then my last one is Girl 11 by Amy Sutter Clark. Suter Clark, and this is like murder mystery type book where there's a killer who is choosing his victims based on their age. I think he starts at 18 and then kills a 17-year-old and a 16-year-old. So they're kind of counting down the clock trying to find the killer before he gets to the next one, which apparently is an 11-year-old. So those are all the books that I've had. Actually, that's most of the books that I have that I've been saving for creepy season. I think I probably have a couple others actually specifically on this shelf. I think I have White Horse by Erica T. Worth. I think that was a horror book as well, but I don't know enough about it to say. And then, I don't know, the one underneath that is called The Whispering Dark. That sounds like it could be pretty creepy too. But either way, I am in no way lacking for spooky things to read, because I also have a book haul coming very soon of a bunch of mostly new releases, new being in the last year or so. We'll see. I am going to dedicate the next 2 months to reading all of these spooky books because I just love this time of year. It's my favorite. I've got everything, you know, I've got my stuff going here. Yeah, I'll be sick of it, I'm sure. By the time Halloween comes, I'll be ready for all the spooky stuff to be done. But hopefully in the meantime, I get through a good number of these and they're not sitting on my shelves for another year. Let me know if you have read any of these, if you think I should start with any of them before the others, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.